Welcome to the Fresh Perspectives webcast. This season is focused on the key insights from the Career Pathways research, which was led by the ACE Emerging Professionals. And we'll be discussing the key influences, organisational barriers, and interesting career transitions that our speakers have faced in their careers. I'm Tom Worthington, and today I'm with Kat Brown, a social impact and ESG manager at Bruntwood, and we'll be discussing the topic of transitioning careers from engineering into the world of sustainability and ESG. So Kat, tell us, what is ESG and what made you want to transition away from the world of engineering?
Thanks, Tom, and hi, thank you for having me today. So ESG, in short, stands for Environmental, Social and Governance. And it's, I'd say, a pretty new emerging world and industry into the kind of previously known corporate social responsibility, or CSR world, social value, social impact. It kind of all encompassing into that wider ethics and governance piece of business. So I actually started my career graduating with a master's in civil engineering. So that was kind of my bread and butter, technical maths, physics A level, and began working as a structural engineer and designer for a large engineering consultancy, which I really enjoyed and found the work both challenging and enjoyable from an engineering point of view. The reason I decided to recently kind of move away to, I suppose, a softer skill with engineering is kind of because of how much I enjoyed engineering, funnily enough. Because, Tom, I believe, did you also study engineering and now you're in sustainability? So I feel like we probably have quite a lot in common. What was your degree in?
Yeah, so I studied chemical engineering, but the modules that really stood out to me were all the kind of climate related, low carbon tech ones. And more for me, it was just kind of the ever pressing issue of climate that I couldn't ignore, which is what took me to sustainability and carbon where I'm at today.
Oh, interesting. So your transition kind of began at the point of graduation, whereas I would say mine was a lot more subtle in the way that my first sort of 3 roles were quite technical, looking at sort of, civil engineering skills, and then started moving into stakeholder engagement. And I think that opened me up to the industry. And for me, engineering was, I kind of wanted to become an engineer, especially in the civil engineering built environment industry, due to kind of the purpose of making a better world. As cliche as that sounds, I do feel like engineers, civil engineers specifically, have such a wide impact on society and sort of the way the world operates. For, one of the key challenges we face is climate change, and we hold such responsibility here. So I think after my first few roles in a technical space, I kept finding myself drawn to projects, external sort of extracurricular initiatives, things with the ACE or the ICE, the institutions, looking at, the environmental aspect, so everything to do with climate change and the climate crisis. Social. So social, I feel, kind of doesn't always get the same advertisement marketing as the sustainability challenges that we face, but it is, I'd say, equally, if not, of the same importance. It's a lot harder to define, I think, and some people shy away from that aspect. And then the governance bit, if we want to go through the whole ESG piece, governance, I think, is something that's, with the Generation Z and the millennials, younger people coming into the industry and understanding that we've got to hold our wide, transnational corporations or just businesses to account. When we look at this ever-changing sort of geopolitical world, I think being involved in this space just kind of increases the potential impact we can have as engineers. So I think that's kind of what made me want to transition away from engineering. I did have a few concerns, which I know we'll probably chat about in a minute. So, sure. Yeah.
No, it's interesting, as you say. I mean, you hear the phrase, what gets measured gets done, and particularly when it comes to environmental metrics, I think there's a lot of them, which perhaps is maybe why some of the social side has maybe not gained the same traction that it rightly needs so. But I did want to move on to, it's quite a daunting topic for a lot of people, that the idea of transitioning from where your degree maybe sits, where your existing networks might be, into a new area. So I was wondering if you had any concerns about that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think as much as it was a bit of a shift, I think they are kind of intrinsically linked, and sort of noting on the point of the responsibility and the kind of potential for impact engineers can have. You touched on a point around data as well, which I think is funny. With an engineer in mind, I think it's kind of funny that even though I've moved into a new industry per se, it's using a lot of the skills I had However, the big concerns I did have was having spent 4 years studying civil engineering and the technicalities of it and working towards my chartership of engineering. I think I felt like I was abandoning it a little bit, and sort of all those hard years worked to work towards a CEng or the chartered institute that I was going for at the time would be wasted. And similarly around that network piece, I think there wasn't many mentors or role models that I could look up to that had done a similar transition, none that were sort of immediately visible to me anyway. So I was able to sort of ask for advice from a few people that I trusted their opinion of, and kind of got a flavor of a different few options. Some people said to me, do not abandon your CEng, this is not the thing to do. And I was a bit conflicted, to be honest, but I think in essence, I just realized, I keep getting pulled back to this space. I'm so passionate about it that I just think, you've got to kind of follow what you enjoy. And that's not to say I'll never become chartered. The opportunity will still be there in a few years. So watch this space, I think.
Yeah, you've got the degree, and there's other types of chartership, right? So I've used a lot of experience. So I did do some engineering roles, but a lot of it still translates. So I'm now pursuing chartered environmentalist, and a lot of those core competencies do translate. So it's not wasted time per se. And if you still want that chartership, it's still available for you there, really. So yeah. my final kind of key question really is, you've kind of gone through this transition, and whether you have any advice to others who've got this engineering background, maybe feel a bit stuck or want to try something else. And, if you have, what would you tell those people?
Yeah, no, I think obviously everyone's situation is different. And I think it's hard to kind of get a cookie cutter and kind of replicate it over people's careers. But I think in those sort of early years, or in those moments where you start to think, oh, what else could I try? I think kind of in first instance, sort of stop and look around you, or understand what it is that you enjoy, so you can kind of have targeted or intentional movements either within your organization or externally, such as bodies like the ACE or the ICA or the any chartered institution, and kind of look at opportunities that exist. Is there a chance to kind of get involved in producing a report together, or is there an initiative that you could potentially run with, or are there other people in your immediate network that have the same mindset on similar topics that you can just learn a little bit more about it? Because I think the more you learn, the more sort of tools in your toolkit you have to kind of making that decision of which direction you want to go, the better and the easier it'll be as well. I'd say, the advantages of having a technical background, don't feel like you're abandoning anything. I think if anything, it's given me a different kind of credibility in this space, in terms of it's just a bit of, varying backgrounds. I think sometimes it's quite refreshing to see individuals that hold sort of two skill sets, and it's not to say that you'll never lose that, although my mental maths is definitely should have probably say this, I do need a calculator a lot now.
I do agree with that, though. I find my engineering background is really beneficial to me in my day-to-day, so I don't think at all it's wasted or lost in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose I'll just end it on, ultimately both me and you, Tom, have done this, and we're sort of living, breathing examples of being able to transition away but still have that network. So obviously, if anyone wants to reach out, I'm more than happy to leave my LinkedIn link in the video box. So yeah, reach out to other people that have done it, and ask questions, be curious.
Yeah, likewise, please do get in touch. And with that, thanks, Kat. I think we're just about out of time, but it's been a really good session to hopefully kind of relieve people's anxieties around this, and understand that you can make this transition, you can explore new opportunities, and you can make a success of it. And it's really not as scary or as people may think. So with that, really, I'd say, Kat, thank you for your time and sharing your thoughts and experience with us.